I was sort of thinking that we might do kind of hip opener, which we did a bit last time as well. I always tend to do hips, back, hamstrings with this one. Maybe do some little gentle sun salutations. I don't know. Let's see how it goes. So go ahead and have a seat. Legs crossed, sitting up nice and tall. Relaxing those arms in your lap. And begin maybe taking a deep inhale and letting it go, sighing it out, releasing everything. Bringing your attention to your mat, to your body, to your state of mind. Sometimes the hardest thing is to let life stay off the mat when you step onto the mat and give yourself over to the practice. Knowing everything you need to attend to will be there when you finish. Giving yourself this time where you don't have to worry about those things. And begin to focus on the breath, inhaling through the nose, exhaling through the nose. Drawing the breath all the way down deep into the lungs, filling your entire chest cavity. Exhaling slowly, letting it go. As you exhale, releasing tension you might be holding in your neck, in your hips, shoulders, even your jaw. Sometimes we hold tension. See if you can exhale and let those areas go. And as always, if you'd like to set an intention for your practice, if you'd like to dedicate your practice, you can think about that now. Give yourself something or someone for your mind to land on. And take a deep inhale as you extend your arms out and up, pressing your palms together. Exhale as you bring your hands down to heart center. And release that. So from here, we'll go ahead and start with a twist. So go ahead and inhale the arms up again. Twist to whatever leg is crossed in front. So for me, it's the right leg is crossed in front. And place that hand behind and the opposite hand on the thigh. Try to stay lifted nice and tall through the spine and think about opening the back shoulder towards the back of the room. Going nice and tall. You can look back, but there's no real reason to. Keeping that head just in neutral is fine. Trying to keep the hand on the thigh rather than on the knee so you're not tugging on your knee. Inhaling and exhaling. Next time you exhale, release that to center and fold forward with your legs as they are. So just release your head, release your back, let your arms go down to the mat. So you'll notice this for sure in your hips. You'll notice it in your back, especially depending on varying levels of flexibility. So just breathe into it. Don't push too hard. That tightness is fine. Just exhale and see if you can let it go a little bit more, a little bit more. And then bringing yourself back up. So now do something really weird and switch the cross of your legs. I don't know about you, but this always feels super awkward for me. So whatever leg was in front, put the other one in front. We do tend to go to the same side, so it's a good idea sometimes to switch. Inhale, extending those arms up, and now twist to that side. So whatever leg is now in front, it should be your opposite direction. That hand goes behind you, opposite hand on the thigh. So this hand is pushing, but not pulling the leg up. It's just to use to push against, to twist you around. Again, opening that back shoulder towards the back. Really trying to sit tall rather than leaning back into it or allowing yourself to slump forward. Think about sitting tall. Deep breaths. Filling the ribs. Notice it's hard to breathe when you're twisted here, and that's okay. Because your lungs are compressed. Next time you exhale, bring that back to center. And now forward fold with this leg crossed in front of you. And notice how that feels. If you're anything like me, it feels even worse than the other side. Try to think about lengthening out of the low spine a bit so you're not dropping straight down in front of you, but angling out just a little bit. Take a few breaths. And then release that, coming up to a seated position, opening the legs out, Uttanasana Konasana, toes towards the ceiling, knees towards the ceiling. If you've got tight hamstrings or you're finding yourself slumping, go ahead and bend those knees a little bit. That should allow you to sit up more tall. If you can sit up tall, go ahead and straighten those legs, extend your arms out in front of you, and go ahead and clasp your fingers. This is my stirring the cauldron move. So you're gonna hinge forward, keeping a long, straight back, and then you're gonna stir that pot. So as big a circle as you can possibly manage. So you're reaching out over your toes, little bit of a lean back, out over the other foot, and as much of a lean forward as you can muster. Like you're stirring a big pot of something really thick. Big inhales and exhales as you go. Probably inhaling for half the circle, exhaling for the other. And then go ahead and reverse that direction. So just stir the pot the other way. Forward and over your feet is more important than back, so don't worry about leaning back. Really reach forward. That's where we're going to get the openness and the stretching. Maybe one more breath, one more cycle. And bring yourself up to the center, releasing those arms down. Sitting tall, again, if legs are bent, that's fine. Hinging forward, so think about bending from the hips rather than dropping the head, as if you're trying to aim the solar plexus out here in the middle of your mat. Hands on the mat, chest stays lifted, and just walk those hands out. As always, having blocks is handy. I did not mention at the beginning, but here you could even put forearms on the block. It could be at the highest height here. My feet always want to roll inward because I'm super knock-kneed. So if your toes roll in or roll out, just be aware of that. Try to keep them pointed towards the ceiling, knees towards the ceiling. And as you breathe, notice if you can release a little bit more, you're definitely going to be feeling stretching here in your inner thigh and probably in your back, your low back, just depending, again, on your flexibility and body shape. The longer you can sit and breathe like this, the more you'll release. One more breath in and out. And then the next time you inhale, go ahead and walk yourself up. Go ahead and bend one leg in, doesn't matter which, we'll do both sides. Wherever it lands is fine, you just want to bend the knee. This just makes your lateral bend a little bit easier. So you're going to be bending out to that leg. So extend the opposite arm up and reaching towards that toe. So obviously for most of us, you won't be anywhere near your foot. That's fine. What's important here is that you're bending sideways. You're not rounding over, you're not flailing back. So if it's just a little lift and a little teeny bend, gazing towards the ceiling, that's fine. If you've got a little more flexibility, a little bit more mobility, you can move down as much as is comfortable. This one I like to think of like your spine is like a sapling here, right? So think of that nice bendy sapling. Your arm is just an extension of it. It's like if you just pull it's like your fingers are the leaves of the tree. Just gently pull it down and create that curve. And press yourself up. We'll just go right onto the other side, so switch legs. Pose, counter pose. Inhale, extend that arm up. Again, imagine this is the branches, the leaves of the tree, and someone pulls it over and the whole tree just bends to the side. And just let this arm that's there be wherever is comfortable, on the floor, on your leg, in front of you. Again, maybe you can turn your gaze, look past your armpit towards the ceiling, trying to stack hips and shoulders. Next time you inhale, pressing back up. And then let's go ahead and extend those legs out in front of us. Feet flexed. Again, if your hamstrings are really tight, it's fine if you bend your knees, especially because we don't want to slouch, right? So if you're here, it's a lot better to bend those knees and pull yourself to more tall, okay? Pushing the heels away as much as you're able. We're gonna flow, stretching forward on your breath. So inhale to extend up. Exhale to release forward. Inhale to stay. Exhale, release. And then inhale to roll up and extend. Exhale to hinge forward. Inhale to stay. Exhale, release. One more time. Inhale to roll up. Exhale to hinge forward. Inhale to stay. Exhale, release. Inhale, roll up, grow tall as you inhale. Interlace your fingers and try to stretch tall, 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 like someone's pulling you up by your hands. Really lifting your spine up, 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 up. Release the hands so they're just parallel. And now hinge forward like you're trying to hold someone's hands in front of you. Grab those hands in front of you. Let them really pull you forward. Open up your low back. Release the hands down wherever they are. Take a couple of breaths here. And then release into this, letting the head go, letting the back go. Taking a few breaths. And then extend the arms again. Grab back, hold onto those invisible hands in front of you, and see if you can lift up with a long spine all the way back up. Exhale, release the hands down by your side. All right, coming over onto our hands and knees. Hands under shoulders, knees under hips. Almost as always. I feel we do this with practices. Get you used to it. So cow-cat, beginning with the base of our spine. Inhaling, hips press down, chest lifts, shoulders pull back. Exhaling, tailbone curls under, middle back arches up, upper back arches up, head drops, looking at the belly button. Inhale. Arms and legs aren't doing anything. It's just the spine. You always start at the base, end at the head. Bring your focus to it. This is one of those simple moves that's kind of complicated to do smoothly and in sequence. One vertebra at a time up, one vertebra at a time back. Last round. Whenever you finish this round, go ahead and give yourself a big stretch in that arched position. So pushing into your hands, dropping your head down, taking up a couple of breaths, really spreading your vertebrae out, or not your vertebrae, your shoulder blades. And then curl your toes under, push yourself up and back, coming to downward facing dog. Jog through, bend one knee, bend the other knee, flex that opposite foot towards the mat. Of course, if down dog is not appropriate for you, you can stay on all fours and keep doing cow-cat for a couple more rounds. And then press both heels into the mat. If you're in down dog, roll both shoulders away from the mat. Go ahead and give your head a shake and a nod. Make sure that your neck is loose. You're not holding your head anywhere. And let's go ahead and come out into our plank. Hands under shoulders, knees are on your toes, or from here, feel free to drop down to knees. I'm gonna go ahead and do it from knees, but if you want to do it on toes, you can stay there. You decide. Taking a couple of breaths here, inhaling, exhaling. Lowering down, elbows hug the rib cage as slowly as you can go. Chest, chin, and hips melting all the way into the mat. Extending the legs behind you. Feet squeeze together, thighs squeeze together, hands stay right where they are. So this is another one we're going to do a little bit of a flow here. So trying to match your breath with your movement. As you inhale, just use your own strength without your hands. See if you can begin to lift up. Hands are hovering above the mat. Exhale, lower back down. Let's do that again. Inhale, just using your back muscles, gently contracting your glutes to protect your back. Exhale to lower down. One more time like that. Inhale. Exhale. This time, invitation to go deeper. So inhale, and then when you can't lift anymore, press your hands into the mat and come up into more of a cobra, only as high as you want. As you exhale, lower back down, and see when you can release the hands and float back all the way to the mat. Inhale, hands hover. Continue the inhale, hands press into the mat, come to your cobra. Exhale, start to lower. Release the hands when you can. Use your muscles in your back to lower down. One more time. Inhale, press into the hands, up to your cobra, elbows by the side, shoulders down and back. Exhale, release. Release the hands and come down to the mat. Bring your hands by your side, turn your head, look over one shoulder. And just release there for a couple of breaths. Maybe 2 or 3, depending on your pace of your breath. Turn your head back to center, bring your hands right underneath your shoulders, curl your toes under, push yourself up all the way back to your heels. Reaching your hands forward, sit back towards your heels, lengthening through your spine. So your hips are going to be relatively high here. They're pushing towards the heels, but they're not going to get there. The head is going to drop, and you're using your hands to traction against pulling back to give your back a nice long stretch. And then rise up. Again, option to stay on all fours or option to push up to our downward facing dog once again. Extend the right leg high overhead. Swing it forward, plant it down, find runner's lunge. So this is a time when the blocks might come in handy. You could be up on the highest level of the blocks, or you can have them flat. These are half-size blocks. What you're looking for is to have your knee over your ankle, a nice deep bend of this knee. It's about 90 degrees here. Seeing how much you can straighten that back leg. And notice that my back is long. I'm not arched way up here. If you're arched way up here, this is where your blocks come in handy, because then that back can go long even though my knee isn't as bent and my body is higher. Because what we want is that long spine. Inhaling and exhaling. Releasing that, stepping the right foot back to meet the left. Again, option to stay here or option to drop down onto knees in your modification and lower all the way down to the mat. If you're using a block, just scooch them out of the way. Inhale, pressing up into cobra again, holding here. So not coming too high. Make sure the elbows are really squeezing by the ribs. Shoulders are down, chest is lifted, gaze is slightly forward. Exhale, release. This time as you inhale, slide your hands out in front of you, pressing them into the mat. So you'll come up higher. Arms are straight. Shoulders are down. Chest is lifted. Feet are relaxed on the mat, squeezing the glutes. And releasing that down, sliding the hands back. Option for up dog. So I'm going to give you the option to do cobra, hands right here, or a little bit more advanced if you want to do up dog. Hands slide back to about the top rib, or second or third rib, I guess. Push into the hands, push into the feet to lift the hips off the mat. Squeezing the glutes still, chest still lifted, shoulders still down, gaze forward. And then release that all the way down. Press into the hands, curl the toes under, push up. Again, stopping at all fours or push all the way up to downward facing dog, you decide. Left leg extends high, swings forward, plants, finds up, low lunge. Again, using the blocks as you need so that you're able to get that spine nice and long. You should be able to see in front of you. This is called a runner's lunge. So I like to think that you're like going to take off on a race. So if you're way over here, there's no power to take off. Find yourself so you can push off that back foot and you could charge forward. And if that means you're all the way down to the mat, that's fine. Again, careful here. We don't ever want to do damage to the knee. So make sure you've got no more than a 90-degree bend. If your foot's way back here, it's an easy fix. Just wriggle it forward. And then let's step that right foot forward to meet the left. Forward fold, buddy. Here you go. Head hanging, back hanging, knees slightly bent. Bend the knees a bit more, let those hips drop. Let the head really go and then roll all the way up your spine, one vertebra at a time, till you come all the way to the top. Deep inhale when you get up to the top. Exhale, release one arm down to the side, other arm stretching over. Same thing, that lateral bend. The sapling bending to the side. Really breathing into that rib cage there. Inhale up through center. Exhale, other arm over. Bending into that side. Deep bend. Inhale to center. Grow nice and tall. Stretch tall. Option to come up on your tippy toes. Stretching, stretching, stretching. Shoulders down away from your ears. Think about being drawn up from the crown of your head. Press the palms together, and as you lower your heels, lower your hands to heart center. Take an inhale, extend up. Exhale, long flat back. So just like we did at the beginning, imagine someone's trying to hold your hands, pull you forward, and then release you all the way down. Sliding the hands halfway up, coming to your shins just below your knees, maybe your thighs, trying to flatten out the back. So your belly button is in, shoulders are spread, gaze is on the mat in front of you. And release this all the way down. We're going to step back to lunge. So if you need your blocks for that, go ahead and grab your blocks. Step the right foot back, coming to your runner's lunge again. If you don't need the blocks, you don't need the blocks, you decide. We're going to twist to both directions. So first, leaving your right hand in the block or on the mat, turn your body left. Extend the left arm only if you want. Looking up to the ceiling if you want. Keep pushing through that right heel, lengthening through that hamstring. Next time you exhale, hand finds the mat. Now we're going to switch sides. Push into the left hand. Pivot the right foot to plant, open the body to the right. Hand can come to hip or arm can extend. Looking up towards the ceiling. Couple of deep breaths. And that hand finds the mat, stepping the left foot back. Option to stay on toes or modification, dropping down to knees. Chest, chin, and hips find the mat. Inhale up to cobra. Exhale to all fours or downward facing dog. And then stepping the right foot forward, again grabbing your blocks if you need, coming to your runner's lunge with your right foot forward this time. Keeping the left hand in the mat as you twist to the right hand to the hip or extend that right arm. Breathing into the twist. And releasing that hand to the mat. We're going to go to the other side. So pivoting the left foot, right hand to the mat, left arm comes up, coming to the hip for extend. And that right hand can be on the block, of course. Bringing that hand back down, stepping the left foot all the way forward, forward fold. Sliding the hands halfway up, Ardha Uttanasana. Trying not to lock the knees and trying not to press on the knees. Releasing all the way down, bend the knees, roll up, restacking the spine, one vertebra at a time, until you come to standing. Stepping out so you're on the long edge of your mat. Toes forward, hinging forward from your hips, releasing all the way down, letting the head go, letting the back go. Trying to straighten the legs. Also try to keep the weight in all four corners of your feet. Again, if you're like me, you're going to roll inwards and find you have more weight on your big toe and on the inside part of your heel. See if you can press your four corners, so behind your pinky toe, behind your big toe, and then both parts of the back of your heel, all pressing into the mat. And then release the head, release the back, let it go. Bending the knees, let the hips drop to roll yourself all the way up. Inhale, extending those arms high. Exhale, pressing them away. And bringing them to heart center. Turning the toes out towards the corners of the mat. We're going to do half bent knees in our, lost my train of thought, plies, squats, or goddess pose. So you're going to sit down and come back up, squeeze the glutes. Sit down. When I teach bar, it's plie. It is not plie in yoga. So what's really important here is that you're pushing the hips back each time so that you're not coming forward. You can go deeper if you want, but what I want you thinking about is pressing the thighs open so the knees are tracking towards the middle toe and they're tracking over the ankles, not over the toes. Chest is staying lifted, hips are pushing back. So we're working on building glute strength while opening our hips and not hurting our knees. One more time. And come back up. I'm just going to pivot back around so I'm facing you. Good. With your hands at heart center, we're going to do a few standing postures. So pivoting towards either end of the mat. I'm going to go with my left foot forward, but you can do either end first. It doesn't matter. So left foot is forward for me. Right foot is at an angle. Turning the body towards the front of the mat and bending the front knee, finding warrior. So as always, knee over ankle, never coming over toes. And it doesn't have to be a super deep bend. See if you can pull the back hip forward. So your headlights here and your hips are pointing forward. Your shoulders are pointing forward. Your gaze is pointing forward. And if you want, those arms extend. We're pushing into the back edge of our pinky toe and the back foot. That's going to help strengthen that leg and help you pull that hip around. If you want, begin to open the chest up, a little bit of a back bend here, bring the gaze towards the ceiling. Bring your gaze back in front of you. So as we pivot this to our warrior two, keep that gaze in front of you. Don't lose sight of your drishti point. Just think about that back hip opening up as the arms drop down. If your left foot is forward, your left arm is going to go forward, right arm is going to go back. Standing nice and tall through the center. We're not leaning into the left, nor leaning back. Knee is still just over ankle. If you want to go deeper, you've got to spread your feet out a little bit more. Squeeze the shoulder blades together. Side angle bend, arms comes down to the thigh. Really think here about stacking the hips on top of one another, stacking the shoulders on top of one another, so your chest is really open. It's like you're between two panes of glass here. That hand can live here on the hip, or it can extend up, and you can bring your gaze up. Inhale, exhale. And pressing yourself up. Straightening the front leg, pivoting towards the top of the mat. Bring the hands back to heart center. Little bend here in the front leg just to give yourself something to launch onto. And we're going to step forward, bringing that right foot forward. Whatever, back foot forward. Pausing here for a moment, finding your stability. Continue keeping the weight on that foot that was forward. So if your left foot is forward, weight's going to be on the left. We're going to come to tree. I'm just going to turn to face you so you can see. First option is to kickstand here. Toe just comes to the mat and you hang out here. If you want to take that off the mat, start to work on balance, it comes to the ankle. Remember, you can always hold on to a chair or a wall. Bringing that foot up the calf, you can live here. Try not to put the foot on the knee, but if you want to come all the way up to the inner thigh, you can do that. Arm options are to hold on to something, to have your arms extended for balance, to have your hands at heart center, or once you're stable, if you want to extend those arms up. Finding a point to focus on in front of you will help. Trying to open the knee out to the side a bit as much as possible without rotating the body, keeping the hips forward. Notice if you're gripping the mat with the toes and try to let the foot relax, spread out on the mat. 3, 2, and 1. Go ahead and lower that foot down, bringing the hands down to heart center and shaking it out. Back to the top of the mat, we're going to step back to the long edge. Once again, toes pointing forward, hands clasped behind the back this time, pulling down, opening up the chest, a little bit of a back bend, and then hinging forward, letting the arms reach overhead, letting the head release, letting the back go. Releasing this down, letting the hands go. Bend the knees so the hands can find the mat. So it's a relatively deep bend in your knees. Turn those toes out again, a little bit to the side, and we'll just make little lunges here, side to side. So your hands are just here for stability. Lunging to one side and the other only going as deep as you want. And we'll spare you crouching dragon tonight. We'll just do small lunges. Working your way back to center. Turn the feet back to parallel. Release the head down. Bend the knees and roll yourself all the way up. Big inhale, arms extend up. And exhale, hands come to heart center. Pivoting towards the other end of your mat. So I'm going to go right foot forward, maybe your left foot forward, opposite side. And we're going to come to warrior one on this side. So bending the front knee, pivoting the back foot, bringing that knee over ankle, hips forward, chest forward, nose forward. Good. Pressing into the pinky edge of that back foot. So you should really feel this in that back hip flexor area, right? Because it's fighting. It wants to just open up. To pull it forward really takes a lot of work on your part, so you should just start to feel that muscle really stretching. The warrior one, warrior two combo is very much considered hip focused, hip opening. And you'll notice I don't go super deep in the bend in my knee, and that's because for me, as soon as I do that, my hips want to open up. I can't keep them forward. You might go deeper. Depends on your hip flexibility. Because slightly wider hips, it tends to be a bit easier, but that being said, I've seen plenty of guys who can do this no problem with a deep bend, and their hips are not usually very wide. So again, find that focal point, extend the arms up, finding your balance. Maybe begin to bring the gaze up, see if you can hold the balance. If you wobble, that's normal. Bring the gaze forward again. Keep your eyes in front of you as you open up the left hip, finding Virabhadrasana 2. Arms shoot out, chest is tall, gaze is out over that middle finger. And now you might go deeper in that bend in your front knee. You might not, just depends on where you were. Still pushing into the back pinky toe to protect that back knee. And now you want to see if you can get your chest and hips open to that long edge of your mat while your gaze is still looking over that front finger. It's a strength building, confidence building pose, warrior. Coming to your side angle bend so the arm comes on the thigh. Really think of opening the chest towards that long end of the mat, keeping the nice deep bend in the knee, hand on the hip, or left arm extends if you wish. Nice deep bend and continuing to push on that pinky edge of the back foot. Pressing yourself back up, pivoting back to the front of the mat, hands find heart center, and step the back foot forward. Find your balance here on your 2 feet. Again, I'm just going to turn so that you can see me. Now you're going to shift that weight to whatever foot was in the front. So for me, it's the right foot. Again, if you need a chair or a wall for balance, that's fine. Find your focal point. Breathe into that focal point. Bringing the opposite foot here to kickstand, to the ankle, to the calf, never to the knee. But if you've got this flexibility to bring it up to that inner thigh, that's fine. If your foot's on your thigh, try to really push the thigh against the foot and the foot against the thigh. You don't want to pop your hip out of alignment just because your foot's on your thigh. You don't get a prize for putting your foot on your thigh, you get a prize for not falling over like me right now. Nice and tall. Inhale, exhale. Seeing if you can bring that knee out to the side. And again, your arms are always what you want to do with them. If you feel really comfortable here, fine. If you need some extra stability, sometimes extended helps. Tends to be harder to raise them up overhead. And you'll notice one foot is easier than the other for most of us. If you surf or skateboard or snowboard, often that whatever foot is your dominant foot there, you'll find is your dominant foot here. Of course, I got in a really big argument with someone about that one time, so if anyone has any thoughts on this, I prefer my right foot forward. I'm goofy footed, and I also balance better on my right. This person told me that that was backwards. I don't know. What do I know? All right, and bring the hands to heart center, and release that foot down, and shake it out. If your feet hurt when you stand on one foot, that's often plantar fasciitis. So some tennis ball rolling massage can really help your foot. All right. Back to the top of your mat. Inhale, extending up. Exhale, release forward. Inhale, flat back lift. Exhale, release down. Bend your knees so your hands can find the mat. Push into the left foot. The right foot's going to come back. We're actually going to come to pigeon on this side. If you know you hate pigeon, flip onto your back and you're going to do figure four, supine pigeon. Otherwise, from here, can you free that left foot, bring it across your body, and release down onto the mat. Right leg pushes behind, left leg is in front, working towards a 90-degree bend, which of course it won't get to. If you tend to roll and sit, wedge a block under you so that you don't sit on your glute. Stay here unless you want to come to figure four. If this isn't working, you come onto the back. Your right knee is bent, left foot comes across it, and you do your supine pigeon. So this is your modification to pigeon. Either one is fine. You're just going to breathe into it. I'm going to come back to the original one. Those of you who are here, it's your option if you like to stay up tall like this, or some people like to take this down to the mat. You could put a block in front of you at any level. You could release all the way down. You could bring your hands in front of you, make a pillow with your hands. You decide. If you prefer to just be up here, then just stay up here. Long spine. Wherever your head is, just find a point to focus on, even if that's the floor, or if you want to close your eyes, you can certainly do that. Breathing into this. Not a posture everyone finds comfortable. If it's hurting your knee, come out of it and come onto your back. Otherwise, breathe through it. Always thinking about reaching that back foot behind you. Wiggling that front foot a little more in front of you. A few more breaths. And then pressing into that, bringing that foot back behind you, and just sit up and down into sort of child's pose, but pushing your hips to one side and to the other side, just to kind of loosen up that hip joint there a couple of times. And then coming up, we're going to come to a modified plank. So on your forearms, as always, option is to stay on knees or come up on toes. Completely your option. The modification, of course, is on your toes or on your knees, and the full version is on your toes. So you decide what's better for you. We don't want hips to drop, right? We want to keep the belly button in, hips level, parallel to the floor. If they're dropping, go ahead and drop your knees and work from here until you get the strength. About 10 more seconds here. Good, dropping down to knees, pushing back on your heels. One breath in child's pose. And then releasing back up. We're just gonna push up to down dog just to get into it on the other side. So lift yourself up, push those hips up so you can free that right leg, swing it forward, bring it across the body, and release down. And again, if you're doing supine pigeon, now your left knee is bent, right ankle is coming across it. Hips are squaring forward. Again, if you tend to roll and flop on your glutes, just wedge a block under you, that's great. Keep stretching the left toe behind you. Keep bringing the right foot in front of you. And the same options exist. You can sit up here, or you can bring yourself down and fold over. You just decide what works better for you. And breathe into it. Notice if the side feels different, tighter, not as tight. Try to release with every exhalation. Keep stretching that back foot behind you, lengthening away from your body. And then if you're down, press yourself up. Push off with that, bring that foot back. Same thing, just little pushes side to side, releasing the hips. Nothing real specific here, it's just what feels good. And then if you're doing down dogs, go ahead and come to one last down dog. If you want to stay in child's pose there, that's absolutely fine. Sometimes down dog can feel quite good after your pigeon, if down dog is accessible to you. Go ahead and shake your head, nod your head, make sure your back is nice and loose. And then whether you're in down dog or child's pose, come back out to one more plank. So lowering down onto your forearms. Again, dropping down to knees is always an acceptable modification. Working from toes is fine as well. We're gonna do another 30-second plank. Using the breath. Inhaling and exhaling. I realize that doing planks is not part of hip opening, but I just think never miss an opportunity for core strength. Just 5 more seconds. If you're not on your knees already, drop to knees and sit back on your heels. Go ahead and bring your hands down by your side, curling yourself over like a little rock in the earth. And then rolling yourself up. Coming to a sit. Legs out in front of you. Same as ever, sitting up tall, lengthening through the spine, bending the knees if that works better. So just like we did in our tree posture, bring one foot up. I've got my right foot up first. You can do either one. Let that knee release down. Trying to let the opposite leg stick straight forward rather than off to the side. So we're coming straight up from the hip. Nice and tall. Inhale to lift, 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 lift. Exhale, again, like someone's holding your hands, pulling you forward as much as you can, and then just releasing them wherever you are. So if we're up here, that's great. Think about bringing your abdomen, your belly, down to your thigh, rather than your head down to your thigh. So think about lengthening through that spine. I like to reach my opposite arm across to grab calf, ankle, or foot, but that's just because that feels good on my hip. Maybe it doesn't on you. And just take a few breaths into it. And then next time you inhale, bringing yourself up. Last twist of the night, crossing that foot over. Always with our seated half spinal twist, you can leave that leg extended, or you can tuck it behind you if that's accessible to you. So you want both glutes on the mat, so you just decide what works better for you. That right knee is bent in front. We're gonna inhale, always lifting, 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 growing tall through the spine. You're twisting towards the right knee. So the right hand's gonna go behind, and you're either gonna hug that right knee, or you can bring the shoulder all the way over. So this still, you should be feeling a little bit in your hips. You're pulling against that thigh, you're opening the back shoulder, and you're sitting nice and tall. That free hand, the left hand, some people like to bring it up to a 90-degree bend and wave. You could be working on a bind, bringing your hand towards your foot. There's also a bind where you bring your hand in here and link hands, but that one, most people tend to lose their spinal integrity. I see people all hunched over just because they've grabbed their hands. I'd much rather see you here with a nice, long, tall spine. And then back to center. If you have your leg crossed under, we can come to Gomukhasana. If you don't, just leave your leg extended and we'll just do an arm stretch for you. If you are here, go ahead and see if you want to bring your right foot back to stack your knees and your hips into your cow face posture. If you're not there, just stay where you are, like I just said. Then everyone can bend their left elbow and grab hold by their tricep to give yourself a tricep stretch. Again, if it's accessible to you, you can reach the hand behind. I'm being very zen. I am zen. I'm being distracted. The problem I having a live audience member. I miss having live audience members. This was so fun when the whole class would laugh at me and go, seriously, Monica, we can't do that.
You're distracting yourself from me.
And go ahead and release out of that. If you've got your legs pretzeled, go ahead and release them, extend them in front of you, and shake it out. Opposite side. So left foot's gonna come up high in that thigh. Right leg's gonna stick out in front. Trying to square the hips forward. Inhale, lifting, growing tall, tall, tall. Exhaling to hinge forward. So remember, if we're not super flexible, you're here, and then you're here. And that might be enough for you. You're really angling the abdomen down, 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 down. So as you get more flexibility, it's your belly that's going to come towards the thigh. And then your ribs. And then maybe one day your nose, but never the crown of your head. Like, that's not what we're aiming for. Again, if it feels good, if you want to reach across the body, you can. And then next time you inhale, walking yourself up for a half spinal twist on this side. So bringing that left foot across the right, sitting up nice and tall. If you want, you can always tuck that leg behind if that works for you. For a lot of people it doesn't, that's okay. You don't get any more or less benefit of the twist. Inhale to extend up, lift, 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 tall spine, twist, left hand comes behind, right arm hugs that knee. Or if it's accessible, it comes all the way across. Either way, see if you can work that stretch in your left glute and your left hip, as well as your spine. So you're pulling that left shoulder back. Same thing, you can wave. You can work towards a bind, which for the most part, lots of people can't do. Don't worry about that one. Maybe your hand's on your ankle or something, that's fine. And then if you can do it without sacrificing the integrity of your spine, you can twist, you can bind here. But you don't want to hunch over here. Everyone seems to think when you bind that's like some sort of like big crowning achievement in yoga. I mean, it can be, but not if you've lost your spinal alignment, in my opinion. I fall over in this one when I bind, so I don't tend to do it. And then releasing forward. So again, you can just stay right where you are. If you want to come to your cow face, you tuck that foot behind you, making the lips of your cow, and then we can all bend our right elbow. You could stay right here. You can reach across, giving yourself a stretch. Try to keep your head tall. And then if you want to bind here, you reach the hands behind, and then you can wiggle the ears of your cow. Again, with this one, you'll notice like Gomukhasana, one side will be tighter than the other. That's going to be normal for a lot of us. And then undo your arms, untangle your legs, extend those legs out in front of you. Or have them bent, might be a bit better. Hold onto your thighs, roll yourself down. Hug your knees into your chest, give yourself a little rock. Massage out anything in that low back. Coming to happy baby, hands between the legs. Happy baby, feet pressing towards the ceiling. Knees dropping towards the armpits. Inhale, exhale. Try to make that low back stay on the mat rather than your bottom sticking up in the air. Release your legs a little bit so that you can actually make contact with the mat, and that will feel good on your low back. And then bring the soles of your feet together and go ahead and release them down onto the mat. So you're in a supine butterfly, Supta Baddha Konasana. Chin is tucking towards your chest. Knees are dropping open. Bring your arms down by your side, shoulders rolling down into the mat. If this is uncomfortable and like not remotely relaxing, go ahead and come out of it. Otherwise, maybe just give yourself a 30 seconds or a minute in this butterfly, and then I'll have you release to Savasana. So go ahead and close your eyes. Bring your attention once again just to your breath, inhaling and exhaling. As you exhale, just one last time, noticing those hips. See if you can invite them to release down a little bit more with every exhalation. Allow the breath to slow. Each inhale becoming longer. Each exhale even longer and slower. If this is comfortable, you can stay here in your butterfly. Alternatively, you can extend those legs coming into your Savasana, legs separated, arms away from the body. Again, just focusing on the inhale and the exhale. Allow the breath to deepen. As you inhale, expanding the ribs, the abdomen. Begin to reawaken the muscles, wiggling fingers and toes, rolling wrists and ankles, rolling the head from side to side. Keeping the eyes closed, go ahead and roll over onto your side. Coming to the fetal position, curling up into a little ball. Taking another couple of breaths there. And then when you're ready, beginning to press all the way up, finding yourself in a seated position. Legs crossed in front of you. Arms in your lap. Sitting up tall. So we'll end with a 3-minute pranayama breathing exercise. This is going to be an inhale, a hold, and then an exhale. And I'll be using the Calm app breathing exercise for it, so you'll hear the bells. And I'll cue you through the first one. So that's your inhale, hold, exhale. Inhale, bring your hands to heart center. Exhale, release. Take one more deep inhale. Open your mouth and let it go. Om Shanti Om. I wish you peace. Namaste.